Of all the things we can do to help alleviate the suffering of animals, the most important is to stop eating them. You might also consider no longer consuming their products, such as milk and eggs. When you do, you may be surprised at just how good vegan food tastes. For those who find it difficult to stop all at once, a gradual transition may be easier. Maybe start by choosing one meal a day or one day a week to be vegetarian or vegan. Try substituting soy milk for cow's milk in your breakfast cereal.
It just takes 1 second to decide stopping. Now, it doesn't make any huge chaotic change in our life. It's just we eat something else. It's so simple. It can be done instantly. So less effort for the very big result, ethically, for the animals and the poor people, for the planet, for our own health. It seems that a sensible mind should say this is not an extremist perspective, this is the most reasonable and compassionate point of view.
It's also about the environment that we need to protect. The environment not just about water and atmosphere, greenhouse, but it's also about forest, it's also about other form of life that we need to protect because it's an important ecosystem. So I think vegetarians is a very holistic approach that for us to embrace all that awareness and also the kindness and compassion practice are very much together in a very holistic way.
The point with vegetarianism is that in this modern day and age where food is so easily obtained, there doesn't seem to me to be too much excuse to eat any kind of food which has caused pain to another being. I mean, it doesn't seem to fit in with our whole idea on compassion and bodhicitta.
Previous to my monastic ordination, I was married and I had a child. I was once out with my son in his stroller. A lady came by and was admiring him and went for that typical pinch the chicks little movement and said something to the effect, "You're so cute I could eat you." And at that moment, it hit me like the proverbial ton of bricks that all the animals that are ever eaten are somebody's child. And I certainly didn't want my child eaten, even figuratively. So that was my transition from being a health-conscious vegetarian to an ethical vegetarian.
How can we bring this compassion to all beings? Yes, we may not be able to do it all the time. We may inadvertently be causing harm, but how, again, as I came back earlier, to cause the least harm possible and to become educated, to become aware of what actually is here.
In early days of my life, I was not a vegetarian. I ate all kind of meat. But later on, purely because of my conscience, I thought it would be much better if I become a vegetarian. I have seen animals being slaughtered. I have seen animals raised for meat in farms and so on. I have seen animals suffering. And therefore I felt a little guilty of eating meat. I have to, when people ask me to talk on Dhamma, I talk on metta, living friendliness, meditation, also I teach. And when people ask questions about meat eating meat, this appears to me not compatible
Yes, I was a monk in South Korea back in the 80s, and it was in a monastery. When I got there, I realized that they were vegan, what we would call vegan. No meat, dairy, or eggs, no wool, silk, or leather, and it really deepened my commitment to being a vegan. The practice of plant-based eating had been going on for centuries, maybe for 700 years, and it was part of the practice of deepening meditation, the idea that it's difficult to go deep in meditation if I'm acting in ways that are not ethical, and harming other living beings disconnects me from the root of compassion and meditative equanimity. We're all raised in a society where we're forced to disconnect from our natural wisdom and compassion.
If say I'm no eat meat, 1 year I no eat meat, that's also good benefit. If say I'm 1 month no eating, that's also good. I'm not eating 1 day, also benefit. Then if completely whole life no eat, that's the best.
When you do go vegan, not only will the animals thank you, so will your body. It's often easy to find products that are not tested on animals and do not contain animal ingredients. Look for the words, "not tested on animals," or "no animal ingredients," or look for the cruelty-free logo. An excellent book on animals and the Dharma is The Great Compassion by Norm Phelps. If you would like more information, the Dharma Voices for Animals website has a resource page with many helpful recommendations. If you've ever been on a Buddhist retreat, you were probably reminded to refrain from harming insects, such as spiders and mosquitoes, as part of the first precept's principle of non-harm. Try extending this practice into your everyday life. If animals come into your home, consider trapping and releasing them. Another thing you can do is talk to people about our relationship to animals, engaging them one-on-one, or starting a discussion within your Sangha. You can also arrange for a screening of this video. Talking with others about this issue is an opportunity to practice right speech. It's important to always be respectful and make it clear that you are not telling people what to do or judging them. Instead, you are simply asking them to consider this important issue.
When people reach this point in their practice where they're investigating the question of vegetarianism or veganism, they really have to examine it from a lot of different alternatives. What foods are they familiar with? What foods are they comfortable with? What foods do they have access to on a daily basis that will really strengthen their body and support their health? It may take some time as they wrestle with the ethical question, as they experiment with their diet, to figure out what's going to feel best for them in the long run. I really think it's important for every practitioner to approach that in an open-ended and pressure-free way so they come to their own understanding about it. So I don't think from myself or my friends who are vegetarian that we have a judging attitude to people as they explore that.
The choices we make about whether to eat animals or not is such an important decision, not only for the animals who suffer so terribly, but also for ourselves. The law of karma. Buddhists worldwide should be at the forefront of this discussion, and yet it seems that no one is talking about this. I'm very grateful, though, to a number of Buddhist teachers around the world who have been recently identifying themselves as vegetarian or as vegan, and also sharing with their sanghas and with the folks in the retreat centers that it's the Buddhist teachings on non-harming and compassion which leads the teacher to deciding not to eat animals.
As you know, it's very interesting. I have made a choice due to this, my own sense of the sensitivity of beings to try to cause the least harm and to not eat them And actually, I don't even wear them. And I don't want to use any products that are part of them in there. But I also know, I wear these clothes, I use a phone, I drive a car, and it could be also part of exploitative labor. I mean, it's impossible, as I said earlier. It's impossible not to cause harm, but how can I cause the least harm? And let us make a conscious choice. So, my dear friends, sisters and brothers, colleagues in the Dharma world, I invite you to bring awareness and let your awareness in these teachings of the Dharma inform you.
I've spent a lot of time trying to understand why it's so hard for people to become vegetarian. It's come down to, for me, two main reasons, both of which are Buddhist concepts. The first is conditioning. We're taught that it's okay to eat animals. We're told by our parents, we're told by society. It's constantly reinforced. And when we're conditioned our entire lives to see things one way, it's hard to see them another. And this really goes to really Buddhist training, where we spend our time reconditioning ourselves. But it does start with an intent to recondition ourselves. And it's a process. And I think the second reason, and probably the biggest reason it's so hard for people to stop, is desire. And it's not a simple desire. It's craving, it's clinging, it's attachment. We like eating meat. We like the way it feels. We just don't want to give it up. And this, of course, goes to the heart of the Buddhist teachings, the Four Noble Truths, dependent origination. And we know that desire is the cause of suffering. In this case, the cause of your suffering and the cause of the suffering of other beings. And it's only through overcoming desire and giving up our attachments that we can put an end to suffering.
It's what we do that defines us. It's how we act and how we behave that defines us as Buddhists, not what we say or chant about or what pictures we have. So we really have to wake up to what we are and what our responsibilities are and be honest. It's very difficult to be honest and just look at yourselves, those who eat meat, just reflect. It's because you like it, isn't it, really?
I've heard people say, I'm just not ready to give it up yet. So that's an honest answer. One could explore that, and there could be a lot of what's going on if you were to unpack that. What's holding you on to that? If you've gotten to a point where you can say, I'm not ready to give it up, that is saying, well, there's something really, maybe I would want to entertain or that I could, but I'm not quite ready to go there. Interesting place for someone who can say, I'm not ready to give it up. So you're causing harm or there's something about it. I would see that as to be a really rich and fruitful area for investigation.
I think the only thing that I wish for within the Dharma community is not to push my ideas of veganism on you, but to investigate for yourself what is true. And to know that when you're eating a burger or meat, it's flesh and it's the skin of an animal. And let that not be denied. And so I don't want to be critical of my sisters and brothers in the Dharma, but I do wish for you all to look very closely at what actually it is that we're putting in our mouths.
Our relationship to animals provides an excellent opportunity for developing our practice. By being continually mindful of how our actions impact animals, we can cultivate compassion and non-harm and other wholesome Buddhist qualities.
And it's always been my preference to be vegetarian since I became a Buddhist. Compassion is always defined very simply with the same fixed expression, which is it's the quality of the heart, or it's the quality that makes the heart of a good person tremble with the suffering of others, and it's the wish to alleviate the suffering of others. So it would seem to me sort of intuitively that if one has this deep quality of compassion, that one doesn't want others to suffer, and one knows that either ordering meat or consuming meat is going to, through some chain of causation, bring about even the cruel upbringing and the slaughter of animals, that out of compassion one would adopt vegetarianism. So that's why it seems to me that if one takes the ethical principles of Buddhism, in my own reflection, and tries to be strictly consistent with them, it would seem to entail an obligation to observe vegetarianism, at least in countries where one does have an option.
The heart of the Buddhist path is compassion. That means to value others. If you value others, you value their well-being and you're concerned by their suffering. And so it seems that aberrant to survive at the cost of others' suffering. And so if we can do it, if we can survive, so of course that means the condition in which we can find other types of means of survival. Then for me it seems to be a must in terms of Buddhist practice.
We are engaged in sharing with our brothers and sisters in the Dharma this understanding that compassion is the highest form of wisdom, and that compassion for all is what we are called upon to have and feel and develop.
Compassion, again, is just that movement away from harm to protection, to doing good. It's just a natural process that happens once you refrain from doing harm.
Well, to quote George Bernard Shaw, animals are my friends and I don't eat my friends.
For the Buddhist community, my brothers and sisters, my appeal for you is that since we took refuge in Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and we took the basic principles from among them, number one is not killing. In terms of not killing, it's not necessarily mean that you go kill, but it's also causing the killing. So which means when you eat other animal, you are the cause of that killing. So my appeal to you is that try to learn about a vegetarian lifestyle, try to learn about a vegan lifestyle, which is way healthier, more compassionate lifestyle. So please try that, because we have taken certain principle before the Buddha, Dhamma and Sangha, and if we don't follow our principles, then we are just named Buddhist. So try to live your belief, live your faith, and try to put Dhamma into your practice.
For all of us, none of us are going to be perfect. We're going to have places, but what happens is our awareness and our deepening and our ability to actualize the first precept of non-harming, it grows as a fruit of all the other parts of Dharma practice that we're doing.
So the basic sense of compassion is also explained in the Metta Sutta when the Buddha said, just as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with a boundless heart should one care for all living beings.
Just like us, animals want to live lives free of pain and suffering. And it is up to each of us to make choices that respect all of the creatures of the earth. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be free from suffering.